Chemistry here. Just wanted to share with you a fantastic new toy I've bought for playing live on stage. It's called a Morpheus drop tune and it looks like this. Basically it's a polyphonic pitch shifter, which is a very flash way of saying it changes the tuning of your guitar without you touching these things up here. Why is that useful, you might ask? Well, very simply, when you're in a covers band, you're playing lots of different styles from lots of different artists. Some bands are now tuning their guitars down to make them sound a bit deeper. Depending on the band and the style, you know, there will be anything from 1 or 2 frets to sort of 4 or 5, but it does make a big difference to the sound. And obviously if you've got to try and cover a song where the band has done that and your guitar isn't tuned down, you're going to be forced to play in some very strange positions which the original artist didn't do, so it might actually be harder for you, and ultimately it just won't sound any good. It's, you know, if you want it to sound accurate, you've got to kind of do exactly what the original band did. So people have cottoned onto this, obviously, and myself included used to take out lots of different guitars in various tunings to make this happen, and then you'd be changing them between songs, which was always a bit of a nightmare. And now with this little toy we don't have to do any of it, which is fantastic. So let me show you some of the features because it's nice and straightforward. If you take a look at the front panel, we've basically got the chromatic scale there, and the unit goes down in semitones, which is 1 fret to the non-guitarist, so it's taking it down in semitones all the way from 1 semitone down to an octave down. You also have an effect on and off at the front, and obviously you can move that cursor down or up with the foot switches that are on the front there as well. So if we put the drop tune to number 2, which is just 1 tone down, that's like having an extra couple of frets. It's not a lot. The lowest note on the guitar normally is an E. Take it down 2 steps, it becomes a D. Subtle difference, really. It just sounds a bit more ballsy, a bit more gutsy, which I think is fantastic. Let's try and give you an example of where we might use that. One of the songs we do in Chemistry when we play wedding gigs, popular song these days seems to be Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. So apart from, you know, the typical kind of like that bit, tune your guitar up even. Apart from that bit, obviously the chorus features power chords. Now it's in the key of A, so ordinarily it would sound like this. Nothing wrong with that, you might think, but if you look at that 3rd chord, which is the chord of D, the lowest place you can play a D on the guitar if it's tuned normally is here, which is fairly up there in the register, quite a reasonably mid-octave position. And remember, if I play my E, with the D tune on, it takes it down to a D. So what we can do with the drop tune is play a tone higher deliberately, thus playing in B for the musicians out there, and then when it's time to hit what would be the chord of D, because you will now be in the position of E, you can play your low chord and use your low E, and you're going to get a much lower sounding 3rd chord. So instead of it sounding like this, it's going to sound like this. So if you play that normally, it'd be. Hear that? Much better. One of the other examples, just giving you examples from our own gigs, we play Sweet Child of Mine, like a lot of covers bands. It's one of the favourites towards the end of the night. Sweet Child is originally in the key of G flat. Guns N' Roses actually, even though, you know, all those years ago, they were one of those bands that just used to tune the guitars down one semitone, equivalent of 1 fret. So they were quite ahead of their time in that respect. But the actual position that you play that initial riff in is up here on the 12th fret. So you have to play it here. And that means, you know, hitting some pretty high notes. And if Axl Rose tuned down 1 step to help his throat, I think the rest of us mere mortals probably should do the same thing. So we just take it down 1 step and you get this. No, you don't play the right notes and you get this. So something like that, very, very useful to have a whole guitar different just for 1 fret. You know, you might sort of go, oh, I don't know if that's worth it. So you're forced to play things actually a little bit higher than they would have been originally, which vocally is a real challenge and a bit unfair. So something like this, very, very useful for the geeking musician, and I'm sure the vocalist in your band, like mine, will be very glad you're able to detune things and save their throat from exhaustion on a gig. Fantastic bit of kit. Also, sometimes these things can be guilty of processing the sound so that you sort of have what they call latency, which means that it's slightly behind when you really strike the string. And you know, for a rock guitarist, that's bad news, because a lot of it relies on feel, and you know, your sort of fingers are quicker than your brain sometimes when you're doing these things. And if it's dragging behind a bit, it's just going to feel very, very unrealistic. It does it a tiny weeny bit, but nothing really to lose any sleep over. If I was to play, let me think of some stupid fast thing. Yeah. Something like that. We put a drop tune on. Playing that in exactly the same position on exactly the same string, and it felt from a playing point of view exactly the same as well. So that's pretty amazing really, that it can track you and change the pitch that quickly. Fantastic bit of kit. If you play guitar, go and get yourself one from the local music shop. They're about 200 quid, and I think worth every penny really. Thanks a lot, see you on a gig soon, take care.